Hello, this is Cody Carlson, creating Module 5 for AEP 800, going over barriers to Web 2.0 article. Summarizing the article, first it starts talking about the tech high schools around the country that have been popping up lately. The main thing that I noticed with that is how little the enrollment is, and I think that would be contributed to how much money it costs to have all that technology. But it was extremely competitive to get into those. You would have to apply to them, and it obviously has some interest by this nation and has some water to hold. Then it talks about barriers according to teachers. Obviously, we're all teachers. We understand how much of a time commitment this is with lesson plans and the extra work that you got to put in. So the time complaint there would be they don't have time to learn the desired technology, or maybe they don't have time to implement it into their classroom, or maybe they lack the training and support to understand how to implement it. Technology is coming in and it's always evolving, so maybe by the time they actually have mastered or are able to use some sort of technology, a new wave of it has already came in and the old one that they know is obsolete. So it can get discouraging. Technology does cost quite a bit, and the budget at a school maybe is lacking to where they can't afford to join in this new initiative of having a bunch of technology. Also, a lack of administrative support. Maybe they don't feel that their administrators support their new initiative and desire to get into the technology field. And then the school culture and demographics, as far as poverty and being able to have the resources available to use all this technology. And then it talks about how people are wanting to change to collaborative and project-based learning, where the student is in charge of their own pathway of knowledge and they use the resources provided through the internet and all this new technology to find their own answers. And then the teacher is more of a supervisor and helps guide them through. And then the article talks about advantages and disadvantages of Web 2.0 that we'll talk about later. Can the digital divide be resolved? There is a huge gap in school budgets, and it's continuing to grow, where the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poor. Technology costs a lot of money. To be able to get this digital divide, we're going to have to find a way to close that gap. I don't have an answer to be able to see this future, but I do know that for it to be resolved, this gap is going to have to close with budgets. Other environments such as homes and libraries, it's not just always in the school where this technology has to be used. In the article, they talked about 20% of homes have internet access now, which I feel like is a drastically low number, to where we're expecting these students to be able to use this information and technology and do these assignments at home, but only 20% of the homes have internet access. Well, yeah, they have a smartphone, but if you have a family data plan, we're not able to use all that data for Jimmy to do his schoolwork on his smartphone when we don't have internet. Poverty is at an all-time high, and I feel like that is another issue. So looking at that, I feel like the schools have to be responsible to provide these opportunities, whether it's before or after school, to allow these students to stay and continue working on these assignments so they can get this stuff done. Now, it's not all just on the schools. I feel like companies need to take an invested interest in their future employees. If they're expecting these students to have the skills of a 3D printer and collaboration, all this, they need to step forward and provide some support as well, maybe through some grants, and help provide some opportunities in technology for these schools that can't afford it. Skills that the 21st century student needs. First off, if we're going to go to cooperative and project-based learning where the student is in charge of their own knowledge pathway, they need to start taking some ownership of their own learning. I feel like they are, not to sound like an old grumpy man, but they are now expected everything to be right there and handed to them. through Google, they're able to search that first line, bam, that's where their answer is. They don't ever go look anywhere else. So they need to take some ownership and some initiative of their own learning if we're going to head that way. Also, with the new phase of text messaging and social media, communication has dropped off and it's turned into slang. If you're going to send a business email, you can't send the exact same thing you would text your buddy. That's just not proper etiquette, and that's something these students are going to have to learn, is how to properly use technology and communicate through technology. Collaboration and teamwork skills with that project base. That's why we're going to that way. We want these students to have collaboration and teamwork skills. That's going to have to be something we practice, and that's, I guess, why they want to go to project-based learning. With that, I talked earlier in my module 1 about how I feel the creativity of a student, now that he has all this technology, has dropped off severely. No longer do they need to create their own ideas. They just borrow someone else's that's already done it, and that's easier for them. So we're going to have to develop these students' creativity and bring it back out. Every student has creativity. They just need to find it, and we need to relight that flame so that they can use their critical thinking and problem solving to be able to do the project-based learning. Looking at my own personal internet use with the phones, it's so much easier now to communicate with my family and friends through text messages, Snapchat, email. I find that a main way of communication for myself. Phone calls are a rarity now, which I'm trying to get back into making more phone calls. Social media, especially Twitter, is a great learning tool I use. There are a lot of strength and conditioning professionals out there that put a lot of stuff on Twitter to help. There's articles and videos. So I use Twitter a lot to be able to learn. And then being in Great Bend, my geographic has provided issues. I can no longer just go to a store and buy all the clothes that I want. So I have to do more online shopping. And through that, I've noticed that I'm now getting targeted with ads that are more towards my interest. So if I'm shopping at the Under Armour store the next week, all my ads are Under Armour store, and then I fall in the trap and I buy more. Technology training that I need when I'm looking at myself. We had a professional development day earlier in the year over virtual reality headsets and all the ways that you can use this. Now you're taking a student from, let's say, Great Bend, Kansas, and you're able to show them what a village looks like in Africa. And instead of just talking about it or reading about it or even seeing a video, now they're able to move their head and they're able to scan and find their own ideas and make their own ideas from the video, which I thought was really cool, and it interests me, and I want to look more into that. The one thing I really struggle with is I understand the technology, I just have a hard time implementing it. And I feel like with technology, like any other thing, that is something you're going to have to plan in your lessons on how to implement it and be able to use it on a daily basis. And then one more thing I want to work on is I have the basic technology knowledge down, and I want to be able to help my other teachers in my building with simple things with Google and Photoshop and things of that nature. When I look at Great Bend High School and Great Bend as a school district, the first thing that stands out for our technology is we have a one-to-one Chromebook initiative at the high school that has helped tremendously with being able to start this technology-based learning where everything is online and being able to switch to that way. Also, our VOTEC classes are starting to get more technology-based. Our shop classes starting to use technology. Our welding and metals class as well as our video editing program is pretty good. And these are all targeted based off of our geographic needs. And then we have a elementary school that has a drone program, and I think it's 1st through 4th grade, and they're able to have a drone club. That is just one elementary school, and that's on the principal's own desire. He took the initiative that he really enjoyed drones and he wanted to start a club, and those kids absolutely love it. With the high school, we have a tech team, like I mentioned, that has helped tremendously with being able to teach teachers how to use and bring technology into their classrooms. One issue I do see with Great Bend that we have is like with the stat with only 20% of homes having internet access. I started thinking about Great Bend and how we are a poverty area and how many of our students don't have internet access, yet we're expecting them to take their Chromebooks home and actually use their Chromebooks and do the assignments. Well, if they don't have internet, how are we expecting that to happen? Some advantages of Web 2.0 is student engagement increases. Every student loves using technology, so being able to capture their attention and have them find value in what we're teaching while using technology, that's a huge bonus. If we are fortunate enough to have access to internet and technology in outside environments other than the classroom, like our homes and our public libraries, then we are able to take our homework and assessments home and be able to do them, along with, if they find a skill that they enjoy or a subject they enjoy, they can go now do it on their own, and now they're learning on their own. And that would be real world applications. If we want these students to graduate and be ready to be productive members of society, we have to provide these job ready skills like communication and collaboration and teamwork. Well, through the technology based learning, those are the main core values of what this is doing. And then the soft skills are developed as well. The internet allows you to give feedback automatically for the teachers and for students to give feedback as well. With everything, there's always a good and there's always a bad. Some disadvantages with the Web 2.0 is group work. It's human nature that if you have a group of 5 working, you're going to have a leader that steps up. You're going to have a couple people that will do what they're told, nothing more. And then there's going to be 1 or 2 people that do the bare minimum and kind of hold the group back. And that's just human nature. I don't know really how you change that, but that's a downfall if you have project-based learning and you have groups. Well, the kid that's doing absolutely nothing is riding the coattail of the leader, and he's going to get an A, even though if he were to do it on his own, would get a D. How we talked earlier in my module 1, students lack problem solving skills. That's something that we're going to have to teach them, but that's an issue. We're going to have to teach those skills before we get hugely into this technology deal and be able to use that daily. These are going to have to be skills that they need to learn. Probably everywhere is the same. Every school is about the same. You have teachers that are stuck in their ways and they don't really buy into this new technology initiative. That's going to hurt the culture. If you don't have everyone buying into what you are trying to do, then it's going to kind of taper off. Inappropriate use of technology. With technology has come new issues, especially with social interaction and cyberbullying, and we'll talk about that here. A few things. When you have a computer in front of a student, their first thing is going to pop in their mind is, how am I going to be able to play a game on here while my teacher's talking? That's just how it goes. Everybody's able to play a game. They know how to break through the firewalls. They get on YouTube to watch videos when they shouldn't, and just inappropriate use that way. You have to monitor that with GoGuardian or however you see fit. These students are extremely smart with technology and understand how to break through firewalls and filters and get through and play those games or get to YouTube even if you have them blocked. That's a huge deal. At my past school, there was an issue with a student who broke into the school's firewall and changed his grades from D's to A's and B's. And then you go, well, if you were so smart, why don't you have A's and B's to begin with? Why do you have to change it? Well, maybe that's why we're going to technology. If he would have had more technology in his classes and been able to find value in it and find things that he liked to do, maybe he would have applied himself a little bit more. Maybe that's the chicken or the egg. And then we've had a huge issue at the beginning of the year. We kind of nipped it in the bud. But with Google Hangout, that's an instant messenger. Instead of texting their friends in the school day, they would just be on their computer chatting to